Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Bean here, and today I'm coming at you with my August wrap-up. Finally. I mean, I know it's taken me a little bit longer to get this video out, but life happens. And so I'm here, I'm ready, and let's hop into it, shall we? So, per usual, I'm going to start with my statistics for the month of August. In the month of August, I managed to read 11 books. Look at me get back into reading. I can honestly, confidently say that my reading slump is probably over by now, which is very, very exciting. I don't know what my hair is doing, but I'm very excited still. Of these books, 2 of them were physically owned, 2 of them were physically borrowed, 5 of them were audiobooks, and 2 of them were ARCs. As far as ratings go, 1 got a 5-star, 3 got 4.5 stars, 3 got 4 stars, 2 got 3.5 stars, 1 got a 3-star, and 1 I DNF'd. So, yeah. As far as pages read goes, I read 3 books under 200 pages, 6 books between 201 and 300 pages, and 2 books between 301 and 400 pages. The longest book was 337 pages, while the shortest was 156. Total, I read 2,463 pages in the month of August. The authors, 7 of them were from the US and 3 were from the UK or Ireland. 5 were male and 6 were female. 8 of the books were fiction, 1 being a horror thriller, 6 being mystery, and 1 being historical fiction. 3 of the books were nonfiction, 1 self-help, and 2 writing books. And as far as age goes, 7 were adults and 4 were middle grade. So yeah, I read a solid amount of middle grade this month. Again, it's been a while, so I finally got back into it. So I think this qualifies as I did a pretty good job as far as my reading goes. The first book that I ended up reading was actually a nonfiction book, and it was called Your Pace or Mine: What Running Taught Me About Life, Laughter, and Coming Last by Lisa Jackson. This one I did give a 5 out of 5. It was an audiobook that I listened to that I've had on a list for a while, and it was just a lot of fun to listen to. Lisa Jackson is actually a writer she's a columnist for Runner's World magazine, and I did subscribe to that once upon a time, and I just haven't subscribed to any magazines, honestly, lately, so I haven't been a subscriber for a while. But basically, she talks about the fact that she started running marathons, and when she did, she basically started coming in last, and she takes great pride in that. And this book is her talking about her experience running marathons, running ultra marathons, running 5Ks, and what she's learned about herself, as well as what she's learned about the world running 5Ks all around the world. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it for anyone who's interested in running because it reminded me why I got into running in the first place. So, and now I just want to go and run marathons again. But it's been a little while, so it's going to take me a bit to get back into the swing of things for that one. The next book that I read was a middle grade, and that was The Maze of Bones by Rick Riordan. This is the first book in the 39 Clues series. This is a series written by multiple authors that follows siblings Amy and Dan Cahill as they follow the last wishes of their grandmother, and all of their extended family and them go out on a race around the globe in order to figure out what the big family secret is. And I read the first 4 books of this series actually this month, so I'll get to them individually. I'm not going to talk long about them because, again, these are short books. Like this one, I believe, is one of the longer ones, and it's 220 pages. So these aren't long books. They aren't long audiobooks either, which is what I've been listening to them on. They are I believe all of them are actually on Scribd, so I've been listening to them there. They're really cute, and they really, I kind of get into them, and they have some really cool, fun historical facts. The siblings are like, I want to say they're 11 and 13 or something like that. Amy's older, and So they are those kids that you're just, or 8 and 12. That's what they are. They're 8 and 12. I'm sorry. Basically, they're two young children, and well, young children being like they're both below 13. And they're basically going on this world adventure to find some family fortune. And it's cute. It's also a bit weird at points, but I think it's great. I love Rick Riordan's writing again, and I think it was a good choice for him to write the first book. It kind of gets you started, and then you kind of go off and just sail through the rest of them. So highly recommend. Great middle grade story. If you're looking for a middle grade book for kids to read, I recommend this series. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5. Right after that, I hopped into a different mystery story, and that is One Poison Pie by Lynn Cahoon, which is the first book in her new Kitchen Witch Mysteries series. This book came out in January. It's actually one that I had an arc of, and so I was able to read this arc a couple months late, but I still did read it. That's the important part, right? This follows Mia Malone, who is a caterer who has just moved to Magic Springs, Idaho, in order to start over and start a brand new business as a caterer after her ex-fiance, I think it was, her ex-fiance or her ex-boyfriend basically took credit for all of the work that she had done for their catering business, and he started his own thing. So it's very interesting because this takes place in a world where magic exists, but it's not acknowledged. And if you have magic, you're still kind of driven out of towns. However, if you're part of a coven, it's more like a secret society that everyone knows about and no one talks about. So it's very interesting dynamic between the witches and the non-witches. So Mia has kitchen magic. So basically what that means is that she puts her hopes and dreams and her magic into the food that she creates. And that can kind of change someone's day around. That can give them good luck. She can kind of do that kind of thing with her magic, which I think is a really kind of cool magic to have. I would definitely go for that magic, not gonna lie. So she doesn't have the normal witchy type magic that everyone thinks of when they think of the witch's magic. I did end up giving this book a 4 out of 5. It took a little bit for me to get into it, honestly, and I did find Mia to be a bit whiny at points. I also did predict the ending to a point. I was not surprised, really, by what happened, but I really did enjoy the story itself. So, highly recommend. It's been a while since I read a Lynn Cahoon cozy mystery, but she's one of the big cozy mystery writers out there. So if you're looking to get into cozy mysteries, highly recommend her work. And this is one, if you like magic, go for it. Dude, this one is very well done. There's also a cat. The next book that I read was One False Note by Gordon Corman. This is the second book in the 39 Clues series. And this is the first book where they actually need to leave the country. And so I think it gets very interesting at this point. I love where this story went and highly recommend, again, this book. I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5. Again, I'm not going to go into these much because they're sequels. The next book that I read was The Sword Thief by Peter Larangis. By Peter Larangis. This is the third book in the 39 Clues series. Can you tell I just binged them on Scribd? It was great. I ended up giving this one, again, a 4 out of 5. It was well done. It was interesting. I liked the history behind it. I thought that was a good touch. So, yes. Keep going. The next book that I read was a nonfiction, and that is Consider This by Chuck Palahniuk. Moments in My Writing Life, after which everything was different. Now, I went into a whole big spiel on this on my other channel, so I will link that down below. But I thought this was a very informative book, and I highly recommend it for writers. He writes in what I would think to be a very Chuck Palahniuk style. That being said, I haven't read his books, but I've heard about them. I've seen the movie Fight Club, and I know he had a hand in the movie. But his advice on writing in here is very intuitive. It's also very eye-opening at points, and it really makes you think about what you're doing while you're writing. So I highly recommend this for writers. As of right now, it is my favorite writing book that I have read. That took a lot to say. I ended up giving this a 4.5 out of 5. The next book that I read, I went back to the series. I went and I read Beyond the Grave, the 4th book in the 39 Clues series. This one was interesting. I did stop here, which this is actually where I stopped last time I tried to read this series, because I don't know if it's because of the characters themselves and their ages, but I started finding them very annoying. So I needed to take a break, and I'll get back into it this month with reading more of these. I think there's 9 in this first series. But you kind of figure out what they're making at this point, so that's interesting, or what they're looking for at this point, so that's interesting. This does take place in Egypt, as you can tell by the cover. So it was interesting. It was just a bit... I got annoyed with them by the end of this book. I really did. But unfortunately, that just dropped it down to a 4 out of 5 stars for me, because the story was great. I just found the characters annoying. The next book that I finally read was I attempted to read The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I DNF'd this. I got like 80 pages in. I know it says give it 100. I could tell at that point I was not going to enjoy this book. This book is not for me. I know that Alex Michaelides is a very big writer, and I did enjoy The Silent Patient, which was his other book that I did read, and I did enjoy that one. I think I gave it a 3.5. I couldn't finish this one. I could not do it. I found myself not sympathizing with anybody, really not caring, and honestly, it felt so cliche at points, like, oh my gosh, it's a girl and the woman's trying to tell the police something, and the police is like, oh, you don't know anything, hush. Yeah, okay. I heard that it gets better once you get past the beginning. Unfortunately, I did not get past the beginning, and I feel really bad, but that's unfortunately the way that it went for me. So, I ended up DNFing this one, so it does not have a rating for me. For those of you who don't know, DNFing means did not finish. So the next book that I read is one that I have had on my shelf for a hot minute, and I've had this one and the sequel on my shelf, and that is Death Comes to the Village by Catherine Lloyd. I gave this book a 3 out of 5. So this book takes place in Regency era Victorian, not Victorian, but early days, almost Victorian age London. It takes place outside of London in a city called Kirkland St. Mary's. And it follows a wounded major named Major Curland. Curland St. Mary, not Kirkland. Curland, my bad. Sorry, I can't speak apparently today. But Major Curland, who is basically the mayor, for lack of a better term, the head person of this area. And there's some mysterious disappearances going on for the local girls. And it was kind of a weird story, honestly. Like, I get where it was going and I get where it was coming from. I understand the characters, but I didn't like any of them. Even our main female character, Lucy, who's just turned, I want to say she's just turned 17 or 18. So basically in this time period, she's not married, she hasn't had kids, so she's going to end up being an old spinster working for her father after her mother died. And because of this, she's kind of sour about things, but she's still running the household for her father, who is director of the area. So it's interesting because the two of them get together and they get together and they try and solve the mysteries of why things are missing and why these girls have vanished. And it's all right. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5, but I will not be continuing with this series. Honestly, it just didn't hold my interest that much, as you can tell by the fact that I'm having trouble explaining it. There was a solid plot line, but it didn't really work for me, so yeah, it's kind of the way it goes, unfortunately. So, yep, 3 out of 5 for this one. The next book that I read was another nonfiction, another writing book, and that was Living Right, The Secret to Inviting Your Craft into Your Daily Life by Kelly L. Stone. I enjoyed this one. Again, I talked about it on my other channel, or I will talk about it. Hopefully that video will be up by now. I'm going to feel really awkward if it didn't. But this basically she tells you different ways to make writing a priority and make writing a solid part of your daily life. And it is very interesting. She approaches several subjects that I thought were very helpful and important, like overcoming your self-doubt and setting goals for like milestones for the next couple of years and what you're actually ultimately looking to get out of your writing. So I thought that was really cool. I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5, honestly, mostly because for as long as this book is, and it has exercises, which was really quite cool, it's very repetitive. And I felt kind of like I got the same things out of it, and again, and again, and again, and just kind of repeating the same thing over and over again. Write daily, write daily. Yes, I get it. But again, I do recommend this if you're a beginner at writing, if you're looking to get into it, because she does make some very good points at that part. So highly recommend for those of you looking to get into writing. And the last book that I read was The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. So I read a book of the month book. Wasn't the one I was supposed to read, but I read one. So I did the thing, guys. I did the thing. I believe I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5. This was a very interesting story. It followed 3 different perspectives. One was a modern woman named Caroline who has just found out that her husband of 5 years, I believe, has been cheating on her. And so she goes, her husband of 10 years, because their 10-year anniversary has been cheating on her. And so she takes their 10-year anniversary trip to London and she goes by herself. She doesn't bring him along. And she basically she ends up going out and just doing things that she wants to do, which she has forgotten that she enjoys doing. And one of those things is she goes beachcombing. So she ends up going to the beach with a group of strangers and they comb the beach for interesting finds, interesting things that they might randomly come across. And she ends up finding actually a small bottle, a small vial with an etched sketching of a bear on it. And it connects to our other characters. We have Eliza, no. We have Nella, who is the owner of an apothecary that basically doles out poisons for women who are looking to get away from abusive or unhappy marriages or masters. And then Eliza, who is the lady's maid to a woman who buys a poison from Nella. Nella? Yeah. And so it's so interesting how the 3 of their lives just intertwine and end up mixing even centuries apart. It's so interesting. It was such a sweet story. I did predict a little bit of it. I do think that the men in this story are very much portrayed as not good people, but that is the point, and I understand that as well. So, and I just have to say, Caroline's husband is a complete and utter asshole. I absolutely hate him, and you hate him more by the end of the book. So, warning for that one. I guess trigger warnings for death, descriptions of dying, panic attacks, depression, yeah. Some PTSD a little bit in there too, but yeah, it's an intense book. It's so well done, and I absolutely loved it though. So I did give this a 4 out of 5. 4.5 out of 5. I'm like 90% sure that's what I gave it. Those were the 11 books that I managed to read in the month of August. I'm so excited to finally be back onto my reading spree and to keep going with it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, now is the perfect time to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down below. We post videos every Tuesday and Thursday and occasional Sundays. And if you want to be reminded, please hit the little bell icon down below. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep reading. Bye!